All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to Re-Engage. We're going to get started in just about a minute, so if you are out in the atrium, if you guys can make your way in, that'd be awesome. Wow, it got really quiet. All right. May or may not know, but my wife Jillian and I, we did Re-Engage back at CCC. That was kind of one of our big areas of ministry. We were both on staff, and so marriage ministry is a passion of ours. And so interesting that when we came over here, it's like we couldn't wait to get this ministry started because we believe in it. We've seen God do some really cool things through it. And we first had to kind of get a new church off the ground first, and then we could launch Re-Engage. So pumped to be able to start tonight. I thought we would start just, if you could just stand up real quick and introduce yourself to somebody nearby you if you don't know them, and just welcome them here. All right, and then I want you to stay standing. Stay standing. We're going to open with just a little bit of fun. One of the things we hope happens through Re-Engage is that we have fun. There's going to be serious stuff. There's going to be fun stuff. And so we're just going to do a little game called Sit Down If. All right, Sit Down If. And I apologize. I did student ministry for like a long time, so sorry. But simply... sit down if you've been married for less than a year. For less than a year. Who's sitting down? Yeah, Abby and Nick. Did anybody else sit down? Yeah, because I just met you guys. Yeah. All right. So, you guys just obviously you lost. But you won because you just got married, so you actually get a little prize. My wife's going to come. Well, the one's sitting down. Both, just give one to each. All right. I know. Wow, off to a good start. Sit down if you've been married for less than 2 years. Anybody? All right, we're good. How about less than 5 years? Less than 5 years, all right. That'll take a few, all right. Sorry, you don't win anything. That's just. How about less than 10 years? Less than 10 years? Good. Less than 15 years? All right. Good. We're getting old. You made it past the 7-year itch, though. That's good. All right, less than 20 years. That would be us if I was not up here. And then how about less than 25 years? All right, now the competition is getting real. All right, less than 30 years. All right, down. We got a decent amount left. How about 35? 35. Yes. Okay, less than 40. All McClungs are out. All right. Less than, where am I at? 45. Less than 45? Oh, the sheepings are out. Hey, well done though. Well done. That's really good. All right. How about less than 50? Less than 50? Less than 50? How long? 47. Hey, give it up for the Millerons, right? 47. That is nothing to be. I don't even know what I'm about to say. All right, nothing to sneeze at. 51. 51. 52. Less than 52. Less than 53. He's giving me like not even close. Less than, how about less than 54? Less than 55. Okay. The Everleys. Yeah. First of all, Rob and Kathy Everly just celebrated 54 on Monday. So give it up for Rob and Kathy. They are also some of our re-engaged leaders, and excited to have them a part of it. But tell us. I'm not even going to keep going. Just tell us how long. 56 years. Larry and Becky. You get a mug with a Starbucks gift card in there just for you. So, all right. Okay, we're going to do one more kind of fun thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the Newlywed Game, if you've ever seen this. And I have actually asked 3 of our leader couples, because, you know, if you're a re-engaged leader, you've got to be good at this, right? So we have 3 couples. Those 3 couples, you can come up. I believe it's the Lanes, the Adkins, and the Smearsacks. Come on up on stage and give these people a round of applause. All right, so you guys have to sit kind of back to back because you can't look at each other's answers. And I'm going to come down here. All right, so this is a very simple game. Okay, I'm going to ask a question, and the question's going to be like, which one of you, right? Which one of you is the funniest? And you are going to decide him or like me or her or me. That's what you will write on your sheet. If you match, then you get a point. Okay? If you don't match, you don't get a point. Very simple. The winner at the end of this is the champion. You get a prize. If you lose, you are fired from being a re-engaged leader. So, all right. So here we go. First one is, hold on a second. Who is the better gift giver? Who's the better gift giver? Go ahead and hold it up. That is all correct. You guys all hit it. Everybody gets a point. Nice work. Nice work. Oh. Sorry, I missed that one. Hey, do me a favor. Write just wife or husband. It'll be a lot easier. There we go. Okay, next one is, who is the better kisser? Who's the better kisser? Be careful. Be careful. Oh. So the Adkins redeemed themselves. These two do not get it. But I would say you kind of still won. So nice work. All right. All right, next one is, who is messier? Who is messier? Yeah, y'all get points. Nice work. Nice work. It's always fun to see this. Appreciate your honesty, too. All right. How about this? If you can remember this. Who said, I love you first? Who said, I love you first? Waiting for Carla. Oh, no. So the Lanes missed it. Everybody else got it. All right. Who takes longer showers? Who takes longer showers? Taylor acted like she knew that one. All right. Okay, Smirzak's, you're right. Adkins, you're right. And Lanes, you're right. Good work, good work. Hey, right now, what's your score? Do you know your score? You haven't kept track. Neither have I. Everybody has all but one, which would mean you have 4. Everybody's got 4 points. Keep track of your own now. All right. Who is the better cook? Oh. Okay, so the Lanes said each other, which is nice. Again, it's nice of you to say that, but you're wrong. All right, you guys got it right. All right. Who is a better driver? Who's a better driver? All right, good work. Good work. All right. All got it. Who is more street smart? Okay. Oh. Okay, so Atkins, you got it wrong. Neither of you are street smart. I don't know. All right. Okay, next is 2 more. Who is more outgoing? Who's more outgoing? Extroverted. You guys are right. Lanes are right. Atkins are right. And Smirzak's are right. Nice work. Good work. Okay, how many points do you guys have? 8? 7? Lanes? 6? All right. So really, you guys have Atkins, you have a chance to tie, but the oldest or longest couple, sorry, I won't say that word, but longest married couple is winning in a commanding lead. So here we go. Who is more of a risk taker? More of a risk taker. Ooh. Adkins, you are wrong. Lane's got it. And Smirzak's are right. We got our winners. We got our winners. Nice work. You guys get Starbucks gift card. Nice work. All right, give a round of applause to all our contestants. Good job. What's that? No. It was, oh, you were? Oh, I totally missed you. Sorry about that. Here. Yeah, give him that too. Whatever one you're in right now. All right. Okay. So, come on up. All right. Somehow we're going to transition from that and go into a little bit more serious time. What's that? Oh, yeah, you need that mic, yeah. So one of the things that's going to happen every week at Reengage is we are going to start off every time in this room what we call a large group, which will really be an opportunity to do one of 2 things. You're either going to hear a couple share their marriage story, or you're going to hear kind of a large group teaching about marriage. More often than not, you'll hear a couple share their story. So all of our leaders are going to get up here and they're going to tell you their marriage story. And one of the things that you'll see, even in our story, is that when we tell our marriage story, they're not the storybook story that you want everybody to know, but it's the real story. It's what are the hard parts, the broken things that have been in your marriage, because like we always will say here, there's no perfect marriage. Every marriage has had difficulty at some point. And so we're going to start off tonight sharing our marriage story with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and pray for us, and then we're going to share. and then we'll tell you what's coming after that. Let me pray. Father, we thank you so much for this night. We thank you for every couple that you have brought into this room. We know that they're here for a reason, that you want to do something really powerful in their lives, in their marriages, in our marriage. And I pray that that would happen, and tonight would be the start of that. I pray now that as we share our story, that you would, Lord, just be in it, that you would be here, that you would speak, and that people wouldn't just see two people up here, but they would see your hand. They would see you at work. And so we love you. We give you this time in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, Jordan, there's a couple pictures I'm going to ask you to put up from time to time. So you could put up that first. Actually, you go back and put up kind of the first picture of our family. You see that one? There it is. So I'll tell you why a baby is turned the other way in a second. But we're the Ionettas, and we have been married for 16 years, and we have 4 kids right now. We have Reese, who's 13. We have Griffin, who's 11, and then Kenzie, who's 9. And then we have a foster daughter, and you'll hear more about that part of our story in just a little bit, but that's Livy. And because she's not our adopted daughter yet, we hope that will happen, we have to be careful how much we give that picture out, and so that's why she's facing backwards. We didn't actually think that was like a good picture. So we, when you look at our family in a still kind of photo posed picture, I think it always makes us look a lot more put together than we actually are. The truth is about our story is that we carry brokenness and baggage from our past, but by God's grace and through his forgiveness and healing, we're here to share our story. And so our story is not a story of a marriage that has arrived, but one that continues to grow by God's grace.
So I grew up in a Christian home and accepted Jesus at a young age. When I was in 5th grade, my parents sat me and my siblings down and explained that after almost 18 years of marriage, they would be getting a divorce. I was completely blindsided by this news. Add to the shock of my parents' marriage ending, divorce also wasn't very common in my friend group or community. So I ended up feeling very isolated and ashamed. I remember even trying to hide my parents' divorce from my friends. I had no idea how to navigate this new reality. So at the age of 11, I felt like my life was spiraling out of control, and I wanted something to cling to. While I did have a faith in Jesus and had a relationship with him, I didn't turn to him during this time. Instead, I developed a desire for control that turned inward, leading me to develop an eating disorder that I continued to battle through high school and into my 20s.
So I grew up in a Christian home and came to know Christ at a really young age, and I was kind of steeped in church and biblical principles. On the outside, I was a good kid, very compliant, obedient to my parents, never really rebelled. My rebellion actually was always more of a private rebellion, and it was kind of kept in the dark for a long time. It all started in 4th grade when I was at a friend's house and I saw my first porn movie. From my first exposure to porn through high school and college, it was a battle for me. Sometimes I won, many times I lost. It's an addictive and dark world, and too often I kept it in the dark. Throughout my time in high school and college, I sought accountability, which helped with that issue, but just when I thought I had it beat, I would fail. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. In high school, I recommitted my life to Christ, and God began actually calling me into ministry. So I went to Moody Bible Institute to be trained for ministry, and I thought, of course, going to Bible college was going to be the cure to getting over all of my sins.
Throughout high school and into college, I grew in my relationship with Jesus, but still struggled to find my identity in him. Instead, I defined myself by what others thought of me. I worked so hard to be the person that I thought others wanted me to be, while still battling that eating disorder I'd gotten really good at hiding. On the outside, I looked like I had it all together, while inwardly I was a mess. I began bending my standards for purity, hoping that that would fulfill me, but only ended up feeling like I lost more of myself. I felt so empty. The summer before my senior year of college, I met Todd, and when I met him, I was not in a great place. In fact, it's probably safe to say I was at my lowest point.
Early on in college, I had a relationship with a girl that was based on infatuation, and I also bent my standards for purity that I was raised with. And I was blinded by my sin to the fact that this girl wasn't even right for me. This relationship and my battle with lust caused me to have a skewed view of what a real and healthy relationship actually was. I finally ended that relationship after almost a year, which was a really good step. Then, a while later, I met Jillian, which was groundbreaking for me. I saw something much deeper in her. It was different than any relationship that I had. And I was just starting my ministry career when I met her. It was at that time that I was growing closer to the Lord than ever before. I had deeper accountability because of being in ministry, and I grew deeper in deeper dependence on the Lord than ever before. I had a different perspective on relationships than ever before, and Jillian was definitely wife material.
Todd and I started out our relationship long distance, which meant that we had lots of time for talking on the phone, and I was brutally honest. I didn't paint a very great picture of myself, past or present. And through that process, we both started to deal with some of the baggage we had carried for years. For the first time, I was open about those messy parts of me. And while processing this with Todd, I started to realize that I had been holding God at a distance because I didn't think I was worthy of his love. Sure, I believed he died for me and saved me, but I didn't think he liked me or really wanted a relationship with me. Somewhere along the way, I had believed the lie that I was unlovable, and I had identified myself by my mistakes and lowered my expectations for really any relationships. One of the reasons I was so honest with Todd about the mess I was in was because I thought he would run, but he didn't. And not only did he stay, but he also didn't try to change me. He loved me at my worst, and that love helped me to understand God's love for me in the midst of my mess.
Yeah, I didn't run. Her vulnerability actually gave me the opportunity to let Jillian know that I wasn't perfect either by any stretch, that I brought plenty of baggage. So I decided to open up to Jillian about my struggle with pornography. While it was really difficult, bringing it out into the light was actually, with my future wife, began to take some of its power away. God began to really shred this sin away and prepare us for marriage. Porn is an enticing road to go down, and I know it's fairly common, but its end game is always destruction. But you don't actually realize how destructive it is until the damage is done, typically. So all that happened before we got married. Some people enter marriage thinking that each one is perfect, but we kind of knew what we were getting into to a degree. Nobody really does. So on May 13th of 2006, we were married, and I can honestly say that I was marrying my best friend. We knew all about each other's struggles and the baggage that we brought, yet we were prepared to love each other unconditionally. So, Jordan, if you want to put up our wedding picture. We always say, like, photography was so terrible back 16 years ago, so don't blame us.
I think because we had a pretty realistic view of each other, the transition to marriage wasn't too hard for us. However, I quickly realized that I had been believing another lie. I thought as soon as I got married, all my problems would just go away. I soon learned that marrying Todd wasn't the answer or cure for me that I thought it might be, and to expect him to be the solution wasn't healthy. It was then that I began a process of really grasping who I was in Christ and what it would look like to let Jesus define me.
All right, so my struggle with pornography had mostly gone away at that point, but it definitely has residual effects on your marriage. There are a lot of consequences to that. So even when you move away from sin, it has consequences that you have to live with. And it definitely affected us in the area of intimacy. And even though pornography became a thing of the past, it was still a temptation. And I remember the time that I had to confess that I had fallen to my wife, and I remember how much it hurt her. But I was blown away by the grace and forgiveness that she offered me in the midst of my pain. And it was that grace that actually drove me to understand Jesus in a way that I had never seen before. Like, I hurt the closest human being to me, and yet she extended grace. She showed me the most tangible love of Jesus. It was powerful, and it drew me closer to her than ever before. I just want to say, real grace always motivates you to move away from sin. Fear never really works, but grace always does.
3 years into our marriage, we started our family. I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and we were both so in love with our daughter, Reese. When Reese was about 6 months old, we found out we were pregnant with baby number 2. The timing was definitely surprising, but after the initial shock wore off, we were quickly thrilled about growing our little family. I was about 9.5 weeks along when we found out we were having a miscarriage. Losing that baby was devastating. Once again, I felt like things were spiraling out of control, but as I sat in that pain, God gave me the clarity to see I had a choice. I could fall back into old patterns and go down the path of insecurity and trying to control things, or I could cling to God and let this situation deepen my reliance upon Him. I experienced the depth of Christ's love and care for me as I mourned our child. For me, this was a defining moment in my faith and also in my parenting, because I realized that my kids weren't really mine at all, but a gift from God, and I needed to daily give them back to Him and trust His plan rather than lean on my own plans. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths." These verses became my prayer as I clung to God's goodness and truth in the midst of my grief.
So then we ended up finding out we were pregnant with Griffin just about 2 months after the miscarriage, which was an amazing blessing. At that time, my job changed with added responsibilities, and we took on a foreclosure to renovate. We had just finished the house and moved in, and not soon after, we found out we were pregnant with Kenzie. So we were in this really stressful season, and I wasn't handling stress well. So Jillian called me one day to actually tell me we were pregnant with Kenzie. She did it over the phone. And my response, I don't know where I was, but my response was, "Are you kidding me?" All right? Wouldn't recommend that response. And I don't even know. I might have added words that I can't share here tonight, too. I don't know. But 3 kids in 3.5 years just like threw me for a loop. It was wonderful, but it really challenged our marriage.
Parenting in this stage was draining, and with Todd working long hours, I felt very lonely and disconnected from my husband. I started to depend more on friendships, investing in those more than I was investing in Todd, because it just felt easier. I began to keep score of all the things that I had given up, and I started feeling really sorry for myself. All of this together made me develop a bitterness towards Todd and toward our life together. My focus was all on how hard my life was. I wasn't supporting Todd, and I definitely wasn't thinking about choosing joy or trying to look for what God was going to do through any of it.
I can't believe you were like that. I actually was the exact same way. I really was. For me as a man, when I'm in a stressful seasons of ministry and life and work or whatever, it can be easy to feel things getting out of control, and there's just no place of refuge. So even spending time with the Lord in the mornings, which I had actually really come to value, that faded because of kids getting up early, and then by the time we got to the nighttime, to do anything was just there's no way. So I just wanted to collapse. So all that combined moved me to begin resenting Jillian. So whenever I'm in a season of high stress, I don't know about you guys, but the first place that my unhealthy attitude comes out is always at home. Right? It's not at work. It's not any other place. I can put on a good face, but it would come out at home. And for us, it seemed like a battle every day between like who had the harder day. It was like a competition. Who was more tired? Who deserved a rest? And we weren't out to serve each other at all. It was all about me. Ephesians 5 says this: "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church, who loved her and gave himself up for her." In this season, I wasn't doing that at all. I was far from it. And I moved more towards selfishness, and we moved further apart. Oh yeah, this is that other picture, Jordan. This is that right in that season. Like even like the way we're holding our kids, you can just tell like we're smiling, but we're stressed, like.
Yeah, Kenzie's about to be dropped. So during that time, as you can see, we were in survival mode, and we didn't communicate well. We either avoided each other or we argued, both being on the defensive. It felt like we were opponents, and one day I remember looking at Todd and saying, "Are we even on the same team? Are we for each other?" And while I was asking him the question out loud, I had been asking myself the same thing inwardly. Am I for my husband, and am I for my marriage?
That was an eye-opening question for me. It was very simple, but it was profound because I knew that we couldn't keep going like this. We realized that our marriage needed constant investment. So we could never coast, and if we started to coast, it was only a matter of time until we became mere roommates. And that was just a wake-up call for us. So we made some decisions. We put into place some more consistent date nights. We tried to do an occasional getaway, and it really helped us to reconnect. And even now, though, in the busiest of seasons, like right now, it's been a busy week, and it's so easy to move back to that like self-centered, it's all about me kind of mentality in my marriage.
So we went through Reengage about 6 years ago, and at that time we weren't in a crisis. We were doing okay. But in going through the material, we realized we still had a lot of work to do. We needed to be intentional about growing our communication. We've had to build in time for each other and learn how to handle conflict well. And in doing so, we've seen our marriage grow stronger. One thing that made all the difference was that we started praying together. And I know that sounds really simple, but for 12 years of our marriage, we didn't consistently pray together. And we had to develop that discipline. And it's been amazing to see what God has done through that. One way we've seen the Lord use prayer in our marriage is to unite us, especially on big decisions.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, Jillian came to me and she said, hey, I really think that we should adopt and have a fourth child. And my answer was pretty much like, no, thank you. And even though that was not a great response that she wanted to hear, at least it wasn't, are you kidding me, right? That was, but Jillian said, well, would you pray about it for like a month and then just consider it? And I said, of course, I'll pray about it. And after a month, I didn't feel really any different, so we both agreed that we would just continue to pray about it for a couple more months. And something that made this process just really great for me is that Jillian didn't keep like hounding me about my answer every single day or every single week. She really let God kind of do his work, and I just really appreciated that. So it would have been really hard if she was impatient with me and asking me all the time if I changed my mind, but she made it clear that if God wasn't calling me to adoption, we wouldn't do it. And that really helped me. So after about 6 months of praying, seeking God on adoption, I can honestly say that God truly called me to adoption, and that's probably a whole other story that we could talk about another time. But then we kind of set out on that adventure to adopt.
And I wish I could say that once we both said yes to adoption, that it was just smooth sailing. But honestly, it's been a really hard journey with lots of unexpected turns. We waited for a year before a birth mom chose us, and then that adoption ended in the birth mom choosing to parent after I had spent 12 hours with the baby. Then we waited another year and decided to take foster care training just in case that was the way God wanted to write this story. Then about a year and a half ago in May, we matched with a set of birth parents, so they chose us. And then after the baby was born, the situation changed again. So we were able to bring this sweet baby girl home, but for now it is a foster care situation. And we made a decision to love this little one as our own for as long as she is. And that's been one of the best and hardest decisions we've made. But we've seen this unite our family and bring so much joy into our lives, but also a scary element of not really knowing the outcome. We don't know why the Lord is writing our story this way or why it can't look the way we wanted it to, but because he's been faithful in the past, we have to remind ourselves that we can trust he will be faithful in this as well. And it's been far from easy. Sometimes I have to daily or even hourly give back control to the Lord. That's kind of a pattern in my life, I guess. Or else I'll spiral into a bad spot again. But I'm so thankful God united me and Todd in this decision so that we can encourage each other even when times are hard.
So the second big decision came when I was approached about an opportunity to apply to be the pastor of this church. And it was another one of those huge decisions that Jillian and I spent some time praying about, but this time it didn't take us long to get on the same page because we could both sense God calling us to do this. And answering God's call to move to Aurora, even though it wasn't very far from where we were, and start a new church, it was not an easy move. But it was the right one, and our marriage was actually prepared for it. It was so cool to look back and see God preparing us to make a big decision like this. I go back to the time where Jillian asked me, are we even on the same team? And because we made some changes in our marriage at that point early on, we were able to get on the same team in this decision. And so making a move like this was easier. And I would say not because it was easy, but because we were 100% together in this. God was calling us both. And I'll just say this, that the way that marriage works is that with big decisions like adoption, job decisions, moving away, sending your kids to a different school or whatever, those are big decisions. I really believe that God will call both you and your spouse together to those big decisions. I think that's part of what it means to be one flesh. If God didn't call Jillian to take this job at this church, I wouldn't have taken it. If God didn't call me to adoption, we wouldn't have adopted. And that's kind of the way we've worked in those big decisions.
So almost 16 years of marriage, and that's our story. It's been a wild and sometimes pretty bumpy road, but through it all, we've seen how God is using our struggles and even our pain to mold us into who He wants us to be. We still have hard days where it would be easy to fall back into old patterns, but instead, we choose to fight for each other instead of against each other. And we've learned that fighting for our marriage means we have to be honest about our struggles and our dreams and our fears. And sometimes it means fighting for time together and choosing to remember that marriage can be fun even when it's hard. We have to be quick to extend grace and admit when we're wrong. And we're committed to being each other's biggest fan. In order to do that, I have to remind myself of God's character, that He is constant and He is good. He never changes and He loves me at my worst and is the only one who truly fulfills me.
So we have not arrived, but because of God's grace, we're so much better off than we deserve. And God continues to grow us. I can say that Jillian's my best friend and has become my greatest accountability partner. She asks me actually really hard questions about life. She sees me when I'm upset and takes the time to figure out what's going on. I love her more now than ever before. And our goal in this marriage, and I think every goal should be that your love grows deeper as time goes on. And I can honestly say that's happened with us. She is my standard for beauty. And that's a big deal when you've struggled with lust and you've struggled with porn. That's a big deal. She is my standard for beauty. It takes work, and Re-engage actually was not only something we led, but it actually was a big part of giving us the framework to actually work through some of these things. So what we have noticed is that the work is always worth it when we put it in. Our story is still being written, but we are going to yield ourselves to God and yield our marriage to Him, and we're just kind of along for the ride. So that's our story. So thank you. All right. So we're going to give you a quick breather now. So when we come back, we're actually going to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of where we're going as a ministry and kind of what's next, and give you a lay of the land. But we do have some coffee and candy, and if you want to take a bathroom break, just take like 4 or 5 minutes and then come on back and we'll get reunited. All right? Go ahead. And it feels so good.
we have enough.
Huh?
I just hope we have enough.
Oh, I think we will, because I think some people didn't come or something. Did you see how many name tags we had left?
I don't know, because by the time, you know, I came in a little before. So just put this up there. Nick came in?
Yeah.
He was like, do you want me to pick some pens out? And I said it was good.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's good. Did you probably warm up? It's always hard when you don't have
MC?
yeah. It's just a little awkward because it's like you can't really say the things about yourself. The MC might say. Because it does like people don't know how to like respond to you after you've been that vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, well, we'll share more about why we did that.
I'll try to round them up.
All right, everybody, come on back in. Well, part of what we're going to do every re-engage is when you hear a story like ours, you're going to end up being in a group. So typically you'll go from here and you'll be in a small group. And one of the first questions your leaders will ask you is, all right, what did you resonate with from the group? And so we're gonna have you do that in just a second. But first, we're going to go a little bit of a lighter question, all right? So what we want to do is get with like one or two couples around you, all right? You don't have to move your chairs, but just kind of turn your backs or whatever. And make sure you introduce yourself if you haven't already. But I want you to answer this question. What is the name of your is the name of your spouse's high school? All right, if you can remember. And bonus points for remembering the mascot, all right? Okay, go ahead. You got to answer it about your spouse with someone else. Go ahead and do that. Find somebody nearby you.
Do you know mine?
Should we go down? I know yours. You're not burning and the yellow jackets for two hours. I'm going to tell Jordan that's next. If you haven't yet, you can move on to the next question, which is just what is one thing you resonated with from our marriage story? Would you resonate with? I really resonate with all of that. Yeah, I know. All right, just go ahead and wrap that up, please. How many of you guys knew the mascot? Anybody know the mascot? All right, good. Nice work. Jillian's is easy to remember because she went to Mount Vernon. I don't know if you know where Mount Vernon is, middle of Ohio. Anybody from Mount Vernon here? That'd be cool. Newark? Pretty close. Pretty close. It's all the same down there. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So she's from Mount Vernon, and they're the Yellow Jackets. But listen to this. They're orange and black. Those are their colors. That's like... Yeah, but you weren't the Yellow Jackets, probably. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So, all right. All right. Well, hopefully you guys had a chance to also just, mention something from our story that resonated. We feel like every week when you hear a story, there's going to be something that you connect with, and our goal is that you would feel like you are not alone. Like wherever you're at in your marriage, no matter how good, no matter how hard, you're not alone. And that's like one of the biggest things that we hope you get out of this time. So with that said, and kind of speaking of that, we're going to show you a little Reengage video that kind of gives you an idea of what Reengage has done and meant to different couples. And so go ahead and Jordan, roll that when you're ready.
We came to Reengage because we had become roommates. We were just two ships passing by.
Our marriage had been through a major crisis.
I had an affair, and I was ready to leave my family for it.
We'd heard great things about the curriculum, and we were looking forward to learning some new things to help improve our marriage.
There was a lot of
we're working on turning it up.
There was an infidelity and
We'll start it over. Can you pause it and we'll start it over?
For divorce.
We're gonna call in the pro. Jordan Samsonis is doing an unbelievable job for us. He's doing everything. So.
Both as non-believers as a result of infidelity and more of my sexual past.
You go ahead and just start it.
We were in a downward spiral in our marriage.
The top.
We were just constantly fighting.
We came to Reengage because we had become roommates. We were just two ships passing by.
Our marriage had been through a major crisis.
I had an affair, and I was ready to leave my family for it.
We'd heard great things about the curriculum, and we were looking forward to learning some new things to help improve our marriage.
There was a lot of brokenness. In fact, there was an infidelity and a pornography addiction that she wasn't aware of.
We were headed for divorce.
We heard it was a safe place to reconnect with your spouse, and we needed to be reconnected.
We really just wanted to take things up a notch.
We came to Reengage both as non-believers as a result of infidelity and more of my sexual past that had come to light.
We were in a downward spiral in our marriage.
We were just constantly fighting.
And we were just at a point of no return. And at the ask of a friend, we showed up to check out this ministry called Reengage.
The first time we walked into Reengage, I actually felt hope.
I was just very nervous to see what was going to be revealed through this program and what God was going to show us.
I honestly felt confused. I had no idea why I needed to be there.
I was feeling the issue was with Susan and not with me at the time.
I felt, finally, this is a place where I do not have to pretend or perform that our marriage is perfect and easy.
This was not a typical sit and get type of class. This class would require sharing and transparency, which was not something that I was used to.
I really didn't want to tell people about what was going on in our marriage.
I was very fearful. Being an atheist, I had never willingly walked into a church.
And I was so grateful as we walked in that there were people there to greet us that were so kind.
The first time I walked into Reengage, I felt hope and peace.
It was the first time I had ever heard people talk about really hard things they had been through, and also hear that it could be okay.
I knew that was right where we needed to be, no matter what the outcome was.
One of the biggest things I realized was that I was the biggest problem in our marriage, not my spouse.
I had blocked out feelings, not only from my wife, but also from myself.
We did an amazing job sweeping conflict under the rug, which over the years just resulted in resentment and mistrust.
We've been married, Terry and I have been married for 19 years, and there are still areas that we can improve on.
One of the biggest things I realized going through Reengage was how God's Word came alive not only in Susan and I's life, but also the couples that were around us.
God actually has designed marriage and has a specific plan for marriage. And that whenever we learn that and do that, it gives him honor.
One of the things I liked about Reengage was we were encouraged to be transparent. We were always asked, do you have 1% more you need to share with your spouse? And I had 1% I needed to share with my spouse. I was not being honest about my struggle with pornography.
Despite feeling unique in the beginning, our re-engaged couples poured love into us and accepted us without any expectation.
And there was a true desire to understand and not necessarily judge what I was doing that we had with the leaders and the people in our small group.
One of the things I liked about Reengage was being able to share our story, talk about it freely in a safe environment.
Now our marriage is characterized as one full of love and grace by God. We have been able to just be more open and have that communication with each other. And it was just great being able to see the difference of then and what is now.
Our marriage is characterized by putting Christ at the center and looking to God's word for instruction.
Daily prayers, a lot of laughter, date nights, and a lot of fun.
It's not perfect, but our disagreements are now opportunities, and our darkest days are where we've seen Christ shine through the most.
If you're considering coming to Reengage, the one thing I would want you to know is that you will be surprised at the relationships that you'll build there.
It's worth giving God an opportunity to come in to your marriage and to restore it to what it's meant to be.
He loves you, and he can restore your marriage, and he can restore you.
You're loved. We care about you here. The Lord cares about you and wants the best for your marriage.
So whether you walked in with divorce papers in hand, or you're doing good and you want to get to great, Reengage is a safe place to reconnect, reignite, and resurrect your marriage.
You've taken a great first step in strengthening your marriage. Welcome to Reengage. We're so glad you're here.
So our hope is that you might have connected with one of those stories from that video. And even if you didn't, we hope you saw that every marriage has a story and its own set of challenges. You guys just heard our story tonight, and we didn't share that to just give you all the details of our life, but we did share that so that you would see that if you have struggles, or if you're currently struggling, you're not alone. Marriage needs intentionality and hard work, and over the years, we've identified couples who would cheer us on and ask us hard questions, and who we could be completely transparent with. And that's really where God grew our hearts for marriage, not just our own marriage, but for helping other couples. Because we know firsthand the power of community, and as we all navigate this thing called marriage.
Yeah, so we're actually really passionate about creating safe places where you can be real about what's going on in your marriage, be honest about different things that you need to work on, and a place that you will feel loved and accepted even in some of the messiest parts of life. So that's something that I think has made all the difference for our marriage, and I think it can for every marriage. So we hope that you'll feel that way.
So we wanted to give you just a little bit of background about Reengage. It's a program that was developed by Watermark Church in Dallas. That's what that video was from. And after they saw the impact it had on their couples, they now train other churches in how to lead Reengage at their church. So we're grateful to them for this material, because as we looked into it several years ago, we felt like it was exactly what we'd been looking for.
Yeah, there are like, I think over 300 churches now that run Reengage, and I really appreciated the way Watermark Church did it, because they just started a marriage ministry for their church, and there was so many great things happening that people were like, what are you guys doing? Because we want to do it. And they're like, okay, this is what we're doing. And they don't charge us anything to run it or anything like that. And it's a cool thing. So I think tonight's your first Reengage, which I think is, the biggest step is just being here. And so we're glad you made the decision to just show up. We hope that you'll find community here and find this to be a safe place that you can grow. So what we want to do is give you kind of 5 reasons why we think Reengage can be really effective. So you may have done other marriage ministries, but we feel like these are 5 reasons that kind of set this one apart.
Number 1 is that because no marriage has arrived. So one thing that we know about marriage is that we're not there yet. We are not a finished product. And that's a great place to be, because then when you admit that you don't have it all figured out, you can become a student of marriage. So no matter where your marriage is at tonight, we know this: your marriage has not arrived, and you're not alone in that. What you will find at Reengage is a bunch of people who are open about their struggles and openly admit that they can use help in their marriage. So you're not going to find any finished products here at Reengage.
All right, number 2 is because being transparent about your struggles is actually the first step to a solution. And if you're not honest about the things that you need to work on or things that you're struggling with, there's no way to actually work on them within the context of your marriage. So Reengage is a place where you do not have to smile and act like you have it all together. And I really want this church to be that way. I think one of the things that's hard about church is that you know this to be true as couples. Some of your worst fights happen in the parking lot or on the way to church, right? But you come into church and it's like, hey, how are you? And I'm blessed, or whatever. And I just think, let's be real. Church is a place, if any place is a place where you can be real, it should be church, because we come not because we have it all together, but because we believe Jesus had it all together on our behalf, so that we can come and be ourselves and admit there are places that we can grow. So that's really the second one. And by the way, that's why we shared tonight first. We realize we're asking you in this ministry to consider opening up a little bit, but we're not going to ask you to do anything that we haven't already done. What we shared tonight, what I shared about myself, not many pastors will share that. I will share that with you because I think that's how we get better. And so, anyway, go ahead.
Number 3 is because love doesn't come easy. So every day you wake up and you have a choice. And you hopefully choose to love your spouse, not because it's easy or because you always feel like it, but because you made that choice when you married your spouse, and you continue to make it every day.
Just like everything that you've ever accomplished in your life that's been successful, marriage takes work. So if you think of, whether it's a degree that you have or a sports accomplishment or something in your work world where you've really excelled and accomplished it, you look back on those and you didn't coast to get those. You put in a ton of work, but I think what happens with most of our marriages, at least when we first get into it, is that we think love comes easy. Marriage isn't one of those things you have to put work into, but of course, if you don't, we learn the hard way. So Reengage kind of gives you this framework to make that investment.
Number 4, because marriage, like everything, will be stronger in community. So the strength of this ministry is found in the community that you'll grow with other couples in your group. It can be a little scary at first to open up and talk about your marriage in the context of a group, and we understand that. But we believe that if you give it time, the community aspect will end up making all the difference in this program. Hebrews 10:24 says, "Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works." And the Bible also says in Proverbs 27:17, "Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." So we didn't come up with this, actually, God did.
So funny, Kevin Stefanski, the coach of the Browns, the other day said, "Someone once said iron sharpens iron." I'm like, someone once said. I'll tell you who said that, Kevin. No.
Always got to talk about the Browns.
Sorry, it all comes back to the Browns. That's another thing in our story that we haven't shared. So, all right. Number 5 is because marriage is too important. It's too important. It's sacred. And I think our culture right now is continually decreasing the value of marriage almost every day. And kind of thinking that it's just a casual thing. My kids always, that song by Bruno Mars, "It's a Beautiful Night, I Think I Want to Marry You," or whatever. My kids hate it when I do this, but I'm like, no, kid, that's wrong. You don't just, have a good night and decide you're going to get married. And my kids are always like, "Dad, come on." But Gwyneth Paltrow actually said once when she got a divorce, like that she didn't even say the word divorce. It's like this is a conscious uncoupling. You know, we don't even want to use that word because it just seems like it's too, you know, it's not that bad. And but we really believe that marriage is designed by God, that it's sacred, and it's not just two people living happily ever after. But we believe that marriage actually matters to your health. It matters to the world around you. It matters to your kids, the future of the church, the extended family, your neighbors, and the world. We believe that a good marriage can be one of the best ways that you can show Christ to the world around you. And so I realize that many of you might be even taking a risk to get involved in a ministry like this, and I get that. But we believe that the stakes are too high to not get involved in a ministry like this. So what is Reengage?
Okay, so Reengage, if you haven't figured it out yet, it's not a class. So it's not a quick fix either. This is a chance to devote 4 months to working on your marriage alongside other couples in your group, including a leader couple. And just a side note there, you met some of our leader couples tonight. Our leader couples are not counselors or marriage experts. They're couples who are passionate about growing their marriage and passionate about pouring into your marriage. So in this ministry, there are marriages all over the board. And the reality is, wherever you're at in your marriage, you didn't get there overnight. So you'll not heal or grow overnight either. So we're not looking for quick fixes. We're looking for long-term change.
All right, good. And Reengage is not about changing or managing behavior. It's all about changing the heart. That's kind of the goal of this. So we don't want you to learn to just coexist with your wife or your husband and never get to the root of the problem. The main goal and the focus of Reengage is heart transformation. It's individually and it's together as a couple. One of the things that you will hear us say a lot, and you even, I don't know if you said this or somebody on the video said this, but everybody is going to learn that you are the problem with your marriage, not your spouse. And yeah, they might be the problem too, but you can't control them, right? So if you admit just the percentage of the problem that you are, then you can begin to work on your marriage. If each person owns 100% of whatever percent that they have, that the problem is, or that they own, then you're going to be off to a good start. And that's going to be the way we really go in this ministry. So marriages get bad when they start pointing fingers, right? You start going, her fault, his fault. You can't get anywhere with that. But as soon as you point to yourself and say, no, I got some stuff I need to work on, then you're getting somewhere. I'm going off script, sorry.
Okay, so what's next for you guys? So because this program is different from a typical Bible study, we wanted to give you this overview tonight and then give you guys a chance to decide if this is what you want to move forward with. So we're going to give you guys a few minutes here to talk to your spouse, and our leaders are going to hand out this little packet. So the first thing on there is this newcomer's card. So each couple is getting one of these little packets, and you should have a pen nearby in your row. Let us know if you don't have a pen. And filling out this newcomer's form is basically telling us that you are committed to doing this program. There is a section on there where you each rate your marriage. We don't want you to fight about that. It's okay if you have a different rating for your relationship. Just kind of think about that as your first step on working on your marriage. Because how often do we ask each other that question and we're honest about where we're at? Just listen to your spouse's heart and don't use it as ammunition for a fight on the way home.
It's funny, that's why we actually have waited to pass this card out till now, because we've had it sitting on seats before and couples come in and it goes bad quickly sometimes. So they're passing these things out now. As they're passing them out, do you want to? Yeah. So I wanted to touch on one more thing we haven't touched on yet. Re-engage, once you get started, when you're filling out that card, what you're signing up for is really to commit to this thing. So we're going to be here every Wednesday night till like December 14th. So we are kind of in it to win it here. And it is going to be about, 15 weeks total? Starting next week, it's going to be 15 weeks. We won't meet on Thanksgiving week, so the Wednesday right before. And I say all that to say everything we just talked about, where we say, hey, marriage isn't a quick fix. Like, it's not a class where you can just get a few tips and tricks and then be like, okay, I'm better. We're really saying this is an investment. It takes time, and it takes community. It takes being in a group. And if you're going to give it the time it needs, if you're going to be in the group and get to know the group to the point where you begin to sharpen each other, then it's going to take some time to do that. But what we're asking is, if you look ahead at this kind of next few months and you go, man, we're slammed right now. Like we know we're going to miss like 5 right off the bat, then I would just say maybe you hold off and do this again another time. Because what's going to happen is if you decide you're going to commit to this and then you show up, every other week for the next few months, it really kind of messes with the dynamics of the group. And it's hard to really get something off the ground. And so not like we're going to be like legalists on this. Everybody's going to miss sometimes. We get that. We totally get that. One of the things you can do in your group, too, is you could even call or FaceTime in if it's just a matter of we're out of town or something like that. But we know there's going to be times to miss. But what I'm saying is, if you know it's going to be a ton, or you're approaching this, like sometimes we approach Bible studies or church things like, this is cool, but it's also kind of nice because if we don't want to go one night, we don't have to go. If that's kind of the mindset, I would say it'd be great if you could decide you're going to commit and just like jump in all the way. So that's kind of what we're asking. Anything to add to that?
I think the only thing I was going to add to that is that if you guys are ready to fill out the card and you want to come give it to us tonight, that's great. If you're thinking, hey, we need to go home and talk about this, that's fine too. But I would ask if you could either scan it or take a picture of it and email it to me by Friday so that I can have the groups ready and prepared for next week. I would appreciate that. My email is actually, so the second thing in your little packet is the FAQs. So we know we went over a lot of information tonight, and it can feel like a lot, and we did a lot of talking. So that just kind of has just some highlighted things to remind you of what we went over. And on the back of that is my email address. So if you need to take it home and talk about it with your spouse, just email it to me by Friday, and that would be great.
Last thing, and if you want to start, you can fill out if you want to start filling it out. But the way that we put groups together is kind of interesting. So we spend a lot of time praying over the names, and what we do is based on a few different factors, we try to put groups together that we think will really help sharpen each other. And so with that said, we really don't take suggestions, because that can be really hard. Everybody wants to be with somebody else, and it's the whole idea of this is that you get in with people that trust us, that we're trying to put you in with people that we think are really going to be helpful for you based on a few different factors. And so that's the way we put the groups together. So
we'll give you guys time to do that. If you have any questions, we're going to be around. You can ask us. Anybody with one of these lanyards is our leader. They're our leader couples, so you could find them afterwards if you have other questions.
Yeah, real quick, leader couples, why don't you guys stand up just so they can see who you are? I know some of them were up here already, but you can see our leader couples are, all different stages of marriage too. You guys can have a seat, but we went through, so all these leader couples have been through Re-engage already. It's part of their training is that they go through it and just work on their marriage together as a couple. And so they are now our leaders. So you'll be in, if you do a small group, you'll be in one of these, one of the groups, and we're leading a group too. So the cool thing is we didn't know if we'd need everybody, but if most of you guys stick, we're going to need all the leader couples, which is really exciting. So, all right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray for us to end. You can definitely fill that out. If you are in for tonight, just come on up and set this on the stage, set the card on the stage. And like Jillian said, if you want time to think and pray and send it back, that's fine too. And we will be up here for your questions or anything that you need. So.
And then once we have your card, we'll send you a link. Do they need to sign up
Yes,
again?
thank you. Okay, so the last thing is that once you give us the card, we're going to send you a link to sign up. And there is a cost involved to pay for the books once you get in. So we'll send that information to you, and we're actually asking you to kind of sign up again, fill out a quick registration form that way, and then pay for the materials and stuff. So.
And then you'd pick up your workbooks next week. So you would come. There's no homework for next week. You'd come. You'll meet your leader, your group, have a small group discussion, and get your workbooks at that time. So.
Good. Let me pray, and then we'll be up here. Father, we thank you for this day, for this night. Lord, for each couple in here, we know that you have created marriage from the beginning, and you meant it to bring you glory, and you meant it to happen in a way that would honor you. And so, Lord, I pray that that's what this whole ministry would be about, no matter where couples are at tonight, that this would be the start of just helping them take a step closer to you, including us. Lord, I pray for all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thanks, everybody. You're actually out a little bit early tonight, too, so